All right. Hello, my name is Anthony Williams. I am a long-term volunteer with Stepping Stones of Hope, past board member, activities director at Camp Paz, and current camp director at Camp Reach, which is a grief camp for teens. And today we're very fortunate to have Patrick O'Neill with us to talk about his journey. We had the benefit of having him share a much extended version of what we'll go through today at the camp. And it was something that the teenagers really responded to. And so what we thought would be great is to bring Patrick back in this format to just share some of his story. So again, Patrick, thank you for being with us today. I'll just kind of put the spotlight on you, my man. You know, what kind of share your journey? What was it that you were going through? What did you go through? And then we'll kind of break it down from there.
Yeah. So, thank you for having me on, and this is certainly a pleasure, and I'm happy to share my story if it can help others and help them build some resiliency. So my story, as quick as possible, I came from divorced parents. They separated when I was 2, primarily lived with my mom. At the age of 15, tragically, my mom died in a scuba diving accident. The two of us in the ocean at night during an advanced dive certification. Kind of just a freak thing. One minute she was there, the next minute she wasn't. We were separated from our dive group, and I, had to swim with her after she had passed away, as close to shore as possible before the other divers surfaced, and we were able to get her out. Obviously that's very traumatic, and it's sudden, unexpected, and there was a lot that I had to process and deal with that. It wasn't easy. And then unfortunately 8 years later, my dad passed away. He passed away from a short bout of cancer. We kind of understood that he probably had something wrong with him for a long time, but he ignored it and didn't see the right doctors till it was too late. So by the age of 23, I had lost both my parents. Both of them were different. One was sudden, one was kind of expected. But to lose both your parents by the age of 23 is certainly challenging. One of the things that I've been able to process over the last 24 years since my mom died was looking back on how did I get to where I'm at today. I'm very much a productive member of society. I'm a captain with the Phoenix Fire Department. I'm married. I have 2 kids. My outlook towards life is the one of positive. I look for a great deal of positivity in everything. I'm a very much the glass is half full versus the glass is half empty attitude. And now that I've processed everything, I've realized through the help of counseling and some other processes that what I went through was resiliency. And I acquired a lot of it on my own, unbeknownst to myself. And there's a couple of things that I can share. One, when you go through trauma and you go through the sudden death at an early age of an adult, of a parent specifically, everybody processes things differently. First of all, you got to have respect for everybody's situation, everybody's individual personalities, and understand that there isn't a process to deal with grief. It's not a 12-week, hey, here's six-week process to get over the death of your loved one. It's a matter of accepting, understanding, going through the stages of the grief process, the denial, the acceptance, the anger. It's an emotional roller coaster, and you don't know what you're going to find yourself in from day to day. My biggest advice is don't resist those emotions. Let them play out. If you're angry, be angry. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with being angry. Find a way to channel that anger. There's a lot of studies and things that I did on my own, which now have some scientific backing. I didn't know I was doing it, but it helped me. I was on the cross country and track team, and I played soccer.
Pause button. All right. I'm going to interrupt because I love where you're going with this. And you said building resilience. And that was one of the reasons. Now, in full disclosure to the audience, right? I have the benefit of knowing Patrick as my brother-in-law, not just a volunteer at camp. And so I've actually been able to read, I'll call it, if it's okay with you, your manuscript, detailing your story. You have been on a bunch of podcasts talking about your story, which is why this is so important and why I'm so happy that you're willing to share this, but not just for teens, because frankly, look, as you just said, right, there's no defined time frame on this type of stuff, right? And
Right.
as you know, and as people who've attended Stepping Stones of Hope programs previously, one of the first things that is said at the entry points of camp is nobody knows exactly what you're going through. Even if your dad died and my dad died, or your mom died and my mom died, the circumstances and the emotions and the variables around that, which is why it was so important for you to come to Camp Paz. And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I really wanted to tie this into that building resiliency part. And you were going to start with the cross country. And this kind of ties into one of the things we talk about right at the Reach Camp, which is let's develop skill sets. Let's work on being a victor as opposed to a victim. And a lot of times it's, what are those skill sets? Is it getting better sleep? Is it exercise? Is it fueling your body with nutrition? And there are, of course, myriad other things that we go through at the camp program. And there's certainly more than that in the scope of this grief journey. So I know this is where you were going, which is why I wanted to interrupt. Right. I wanted to know specifically, what are some of the things that you've done, some of those skill sets or some of the principles or some of those habits, starting out when you're, 15, 16-year-old kid to into your young and now, obviously you're much younger than I am, but adult life, your young adult life. I think people would be really interested to know what you did. Like, how did you keep yourself going and driven and take that glasses half full type of approach? And so I interrupted at cross country, but I just wanted to tie those things together real quickly for the audience.
Right. So when you study resiliency, you find out that for an individual to be resilient, there's a lot of factors. There's environmental, there's a huge genetic component, and there's some other variables, right? What I had was I had a foundation, unbeknownst to myself at the time, of a base that was established through my growth and the raising that my mom put into me. Okay. She was a very hard pushing woman who expected a lot. She had high expectations. She was driven. She instilled a work ethic in me. She encouraged me to be active. I was involved in sports. We ate a very healthy life. We nutritionally were very healthy. There wasn't a lot of junk food in my house growing up. There was a ton of veggies. Having that base, that's all I knew. And so I reverted back to that. Immediately when my mom died, there was two things that clicked with me. And it was, one, I needed to find perspective. Yes, I went through something traumatic, but I needed perspective to know that somebody else out there has gone through something worse than me. And so I pulled from some stories that I had heard over the years where I was like, okay, what I went through sucks, but somebody's gone through something worse and they ended up okay. That was stepping one. The next thing I did was I just believed that, we're not challenged with things in our life that we can't handle. And that kind of falls back into more of a spiritual background, but I relied on that. The next thing I did is I just simply defaulted to who I was before and what am I going to do that would make my mom proud going forward. And a big part of that was she would want me to run. She would want me to continue with sports. She would want me to continue doing the things that she had fostered and nurtured and developed. So the first thing I wanted to do was get back to cross country. And when I did, I went back to, that time of year, it was track season. Once I returned to my track teammates, they embraced me. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to interact. But you know what? Getting that release and physical release and being able to play out emotions, where I would go on these long runs on the canals here in Arizona, I ran through emotions. There were times I cried. There were times that I ran angry, and I would, just try to push my body even further because there was a emotional release by going through those practices. And I didn't realize it at the time. I just knew that when I got done running, I felt better. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't anguished. I wasn't as angry. I ran out some of that anger. And then just continuing on, like I never had a healthy nutritional lifestyle. Yes, sleep is a big thing. That wasn't really on my radar at the time, but when you're physically taxing yourself through rigorous track practices and competitive soccer and stuff like that, you're tired. You tend to sleep a little bit better. So those things kind of helped me out big time. Another thing that I realized was, you do need a support group. I had very limited family. I was fortunate enough to move in with a family in high school after my mom passed away, and they supported me. They kind of picked up in a lot of ways where my mom had left off. They supported the sports. They supported me being able to do what I want to do. And that was huge because I wasn't alone in the process. I let other people in. I looked for a support system that could foster me, and I could be a part of it. And to find another family to belong to was, no doubtedly an incredible piece of my journey.
Well, I mean, look, I really appreciate you sharing that. Of course, we could probably sit here as we have previously and talk for hours about this. And I've always been very curious about your story. I appreciate you sharing. One of the things that you talked about is that sense of community. And I was fortunate this past year to meet some Brits who are huge soccer fans. And they shared with me the "You'll Never Walk Alone" anthem. And so for those of you that are interested, check that out, because it's moving and powerful, especially when you see it played at the stadium. And clearly with the family that took you in, and with your community, with your cross country team and your other sports, and now with the Stepping Stones of Hope family, you definitely have that community moving forward. So again, Patrick, thanks so much. Again, Camp Reach is in June. The dates are 4 to 6, June 4 to 6, and the 21st, pending COVID allows. We can all cross our fingers for that. Please check out our website at steppingstonesofhope.org. We have a number of different programs that are available, not just the teen camp, adult camps, first steps, and so forth. And then, of course, we're always looking for good quality people to volunteer to help other people navigate this journey. So I think we'll wrap it here. Patrick, thanks again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.